You talked about proportionality in this conflict being absurd. I've talked a lot about what is proportionate. I've struggled to think of what a proportionate response is to the barbarism of those terror attacks. There is a view, and maybe you share this view, but there is a view, I think Ben Shapiro said this to me when I interviewed him, that there should be no limit on the response that Israel has. It's not about proportion. It's not about you kill one of us, we kill one of you. This is about a war specifically designed to eliminate Hamas, and they will do what it takes.
Yes. Well, I mean, remember that one of the heads of Hamas said only a few days ago from the comfort of his foreign residence, because remember, the heads of Hamas don't live among their peoples. They've been made billionaires by taking in international aid for years now. But one of the heads of Hamas said the other day, we will keep doing October the 7th again and again and again. So there's a realization in Israel, I think, that this is just unlivable. You can't have a situation where you have a neighbor who, well, won the election in 2006 after Israel withdrew from the Gaza, promptly killed their fellow Palestinians, the Fatah members in the Gaza, threw them off buildings and shot them in the back. So Hamas has been ruling Gaza for all the last 1.5 decades. It has spent all the international aid money and much more that has come into it on its own infrastructure of terror tunnels, its infrastructure of rockets and other munitions to throw at Israel, and then, of course, in enriching its leaders. The place you see behind me could be Singapore by now, and there's a reason it isn't, and it's the leadership of Hamas. And so, I think that it is something that people have to realize, that this is not a situation which is sustainable for Israel. And yes, the Israeli government is going to be doing whatever it needs to do to fulfill its objective of ridding the Gaza of Hamas. How easy or difficult a job that is another question, but it's something that is going on as we speak.
But in terms of the moral quandary which I've been feeling, and it's not about Israel wanting to eliminate Hamas, I completely agree with that mission statement. And certainly there's no chance of any peace when you have a terror group in charge of Gaza in the way that they've now completely established themselves to be, with no limits and just a desire to eradicate Israel and as many Jewish people as they can kill. So let's park that to one side. I concur with the mission statement. But it is incredibly difficult, just on a human level, to see, because we know the civilian population in Gaza is half children, to see the sheer numbers of kids who are being killed by the Israeli onslaught that's come back against Hamas. What do you feel about that on a human level? What should we all be feeling about that?
The first thing is, should those deaths really be attributed to the Israeli side? We saw the other day the BBC and other media reported that the people who were lying dead on the street on one of the main routes through Gaza was alleged to be a massacre carried out by Israelis. It turned out it wasn't the case at all. It was Hamas massacring Palestinians fleeing south, as the Israelis had recommended they do. So the question, in a way, that you ask, I would say there's an answer to, which is who exactly is responsible for these deaths? If you do, as Hamas does, decide to build bunkers and put rockets on them and then put hospitals on top of them, who exactly is responsible for that? Is it the Israelis and their response, or is it Hamas for doing that? If you do decide, as Hamas has done, to use all of these billions of dollars of international aid to build tunnels where you can hide, among other things, the kidnapped Israelis, who's responsible for the strikes that happen as a result and any civilian deaths? Is it the Israelis, or is it Hamas, who has been holding the Palestinian peoples of the Gaza hostage for the last 15 years and more? Again, I repeat this point. A lot of what has been said about this seems to suggest that Hamas has no responsibility for this. If you went into your neighbor's house, ransacked it, raped your neighbors, killed some of them, took others into captivity, and then somebody said, that's not on, I'm going to do something in retaliation to that, you would bear the cost of that. You'd bear the price for that. The Israelis have the right to respond to such an atrocity. And I'm rather surprised, or at least I'm not surprised in a way. I'm disappointed as ever by the number of commentators in the UK and elsewhere who always use times like this to say things like, we've got to. This is a time for judicious voices. This is a time for calm and much more. I do always wonder if those people would say the same or feel the same if it was a bit closer to their own home. If it wasn't a kibbutz down the road, like the one I was in earlier that had been attacked, but a village after village in the south of England, I don't think we'd be hearing those same voices. I think there's a very particular standard that the Israelis are held to. I think it's an unfair standard. It's an unequal standard. It's an intolerable standard for the Israelis. But when people say, you've just got to sort of live with this, the Israelis quite rightly will be saying, well, we don't see quite why we do.